when I saw their books, it was just like कि सब चिट्ठी पे था. There was nothing recorded. There was, I mean, absolutely, you could say that it was कि ये पूरा 2 number का ही चल रहा था. And the entire industry was working like that. This Akshaya Tritiya was around 1,03,000 for 10 grams. So the journey from 10,000 to 1,03,000. So just imagine like anybody having say 1 kilo. That time would have been a lakh rupee. Now it is almost 10 lakh rupees. But then 1 kilo today is almost 1 crore rupees. Silver was around 10, 20,000 for a kilo. Now it's almost a lakh rupee for a kilo. So the amount of times you would ask, it's 10 times. So you are invested in an asset which is appreciating. You sell this asset, you're making money with making charges. Somebody comes to sell, that is again turn around, so you get around 2-3% in that. If you talk about any good store, say about would be 5-7 crores. But for a brand, I would say for the diamond jewelry. But with a brand which is like a medium-sized jeweler, he would have minimum 20 crores invested. So the true story is that jewelry would be made by a local jeweler, exactly the same, for almost like say 30-40% price lesser. There is no difference because the shine, the finish, it's exactly the same. And really nobody can understand if it is a lab grown or not.
Hi all, welcome to the Strategic Pulse. I'm your host Sudarshan Praveen. Today we have Mr. Abhishek from Sorabh Jewellers as our podcast guest. In this episode, we will deep dive into the jewelry industry. In this episode, we will understand the kind of investment required to start a jewelry store, what are the profit margins, gold versus diamond debate, some conversation on lab-grown diamonds, and much more. Stay tuned and watch the entire episode. Thank you. Hi Abhishek, welcome to our show, The Strategic Pulse. Our family has been your customers since past 3 generations, so thank you for taking the time out and being here.
Thank you for having me here.
So how did you get into this jewelry business?
Okay, so basically in my college time, basically when I was studying for my bachelor's in management studies, so we have this dissertation of the project at the end. So therein me and my friend, so we started this as a small project of gold and diamonds. So gold as an investment, diamond as an investment. So back then the rate of gold was around 7,000-8,000 rupees for 10 grams.
Oh.
So that time we were just trying to understand like is actually gold a good investment? Because when we used to reach out to all these fund managers back then in 2007, so that time they were not too keen and they were like, okay, theek hai na, so gold, who buys gold? I mean, it's just for jewelries and all. So then we were like more curious, like gold being so precious. But still, the fund managers are more interested with equities. They want to get into debt and all. But nobody was so keen on to getting into gold. So back then, if you see, the number of brands which were operating were mostly like only TBZ and say Kalyan Malabar in the southern region. But back in Mumbai, so there were few limited jewelers who would have multiple branches and all. But then it started with the project. Then I went on ahead with my studies. I completed my CFA. So back then when I was studying in UK, after that I happened to come back. And my father he was like, we want to open up a bigger branch and we want to have everything centralized. So I was just like, okay, fine, let me get into it. But when I saw their books, it was just like कि सब चिट्ठी पे था. There was nothing recorded. There was, I mean, absolutely, you could say that it was कि ये पूरा 2 number का ही चल रहा था.
Okay.
And the entire industry was working like that.
Okay.
So then slowly and steadily, first I got into getting it into computers, getting onto barcode, have your stocks on hand, you know where you stand. Then you started with getting into you start approaching people to understand, the back-end operations to be taken. How do they do it? The softwares and everything. So then again, there was a transition phase in 2016 when the cash was taken up by the government. So now it was the digital economy. So that's how actually the industry is also transformed. So my interest grew up when I actually just got into. So it was out of my curiosity that, we are doing fine with business, but what about the back end? So we were relying on our staff who used to hail down from Rajasthan. So they were only just 4th, 5th studied, and they would write our stock books. They would, they would make our sale bills and all. So I was like, this cannot work. And my father was like, ultimately, if you want to get into business, then why not do this business? So I was into investment banking. I started as a research analyst, but then when my family, like as a nuclear family, so like my mom was, crying day in and day out, "Ki once you have gone to UK, you'll never return." So then that's how the story started, and she never gave my passport back because she was like, "You do whatever you want here. You whatever you want, you'll get it here. But you do anything in front of me." So that's how I got into this retail format. So we had a small store then. So from there, this education background really helped me out to understand. Now in 2007-8, when the Lehman Brothers collapsed and so many things were happening, so there was easy money which was available. So all you needed to buy was something really hard, concrete assets. Like it could be commodities, commodity could be land, it could be real estate investment. So that was the time actually everything was booming.
Right.
So the policies are also changing accordingly. The FSI was changing. So then the first thing which we bought, I got into it, and my father was like, "Ki, we want to expand into manufacturing." So then we were like, let's do it. Give me something challenging because while I was studying also, it was around 14, 16 hours of study for my CFA. I completed my level 3 as well. So got into that framework. So I was confident that I could do, but give me something challenging. So that's where from a small unorganized sector, small shop of 400 carpet, we expanded. We kept on buying real estate assets, but then overall, over the period of time, gold, just because of the liquid money that was being pumped by US, so gold had to rise because there was so much of easy money available. Even if somebody is defaulting in US, they are still getting more funds just to survive. So such a wow factor. Even if I'm today defaulting on my loan, you're still getting more loan, boss. You don't fall, you don't collapse. You take more money, but you survive. So all that money has to come in. So that's how the inflation, when the interest rates were zero, so the gold just started climbing. So the amount of money that we could see, I would do a little bit of derivatives. So in India, we have this MCX, multiple commodity exchange, wherein you could buy gold, you could buy silver. So that really helped you, and people were making money. So gold that time around 10 to 12. So basically, when the gold price rises, you see a good footfall in your store. But when the gold prices are lower, then the customers are also the back end, like, or kam hoga, only then I'll buy. But it's always the other way around that we have seen. जितना सोना बढ़ता है, उतना सेल भी बढ़ता है. And you are like कि this is really surprising. जब कम होना चाहिए, you should come and buy. But no, it does not happen. And everything favored gold. Gold overall. People started talking. So earlier they were only like the female fraternity. You could say the girls who were buying, or the women, and your mothers would be buying. Only those were the categories who were buying gold and jewelry. Then the gold coins were introduced. So the demand for gold again increased. After that, the reserve banks started buying. So there is one SPDR, that is an ETF fund in US.
Okay.
So basically, it is simply said that once they start buying, you should simply buy.
Okay.
Any reserve bank is buying, you should simply buy, be whatever the rate be. So say like last year, December, the gold prices were around 76,000 odd.
Right.
This year we expected, chalo theek hai, we'll have 7-8% inflation adjusted, the rate would be this much. But the gold just ran up to 1 lakh.
Right.
In India, we were selling like almost, this Akshaya Tritiya was around 1,03,000
Wow.
for 10 grams. So the journey from 10,000 to 1,03,000. So just imagine like anybody having say 1 kilo.
Yeah.
That time would have been a lakh rupee.
Yeah.
Now it is almost 10 lakh rupees.
Yeah.
But then 1 kilo today is almost 1 crore rupees.
Yeah.
So now the jewelers are more comfortable. So they are diversifying. Obviously, the sales do take a hit. But then overall, the precious metal that you see, like silver as well, silver was around 10-20,000 for a kilo. Now it's almost a lakh rupee for a kilo. So the amount of times you would ask, it's 10 times. But then again, slowly and steadily, you have to be persistent with the industry. And again, there has been a lot many transformations. We got this BIS hallmark certification started. So, all these things, the transformation, you need somebody educated within the family. So it is the family who wants just to keep the legacy going, who wants to do a branding, who wants to get into a chain of stores. So that's how, if you see now, Kalyan Jewellers for themselves, PNG Gadgil, Sorabh Gadgil and all. So these guys, they had this potential to understand how can I make it organized. So they all come from a family background wherein the fathers had one or two stores running, then professionally managing it, have good managers, have an MBA recruited, and that's how the industry has transformed. So the volume wise, if you see, like TBZ holds more than, I guess, 40 showrooms. Kalyan and Malabar would have more than 100 showrooms. So they have across the globe. But I mean, it is just now the fund managers, they want to get into ETFs. So now they've realized, Kare, this asset is nice. So with gold, you have many industries linked. Like you have gold loans, the easiest form of loan, easy without any paper, nothing. Super. I mean, if there is anything like in COVID and all, any emergency, gold was really an asset which you could sell it easily, get money, and just walk out. Selling a flat you couldn't do because the number of buyers were less, and gold was just liquid. The liquidity, the transformability, and you could travel and you could take it and sell it anywhere. With the property, or I would say even for the shares, when there is any bad thing coming up, any incident or any event coming up, there's always a correction in the stock markets. They do make good amount of money, but with gold, there's always this love factor within the family. That will be the last resort you would like to sell. Flat, obviously, if you have like 4 5 flats and if you're just selling one, so there is not that much of attachment. But with the jewelry, they always have an emotion attached to it, like the grandparents, mother, then the daughter, the marriage. So all this thing, and over a period of time, maybe I would put it this way, like the thought process of understanding okay, why I need a goal. I mean, even in today's time, even if you're not doing anything, you just simply buy 1 gram of gold every month and keep. By the time you have like 10 years passed by, you have your own vault of gold which is hedged against the inflation. But just to summarize, I mean, we made money, I was making money, so that's how I got into that. Even if equities, I mean, this was a sector which was not touched.
Right.
So then you had this gold as an asset which you are investing. So business, coming back to the family business perspective.
Yeah.
So you are invested in an asset which is appreciating.
Right.
You sell this asset, you're making money with making charges.
Right.
Somebody comes to sell, that is again turned around, so you get around 2-3% in that.
Okay.
So it is an ongoing business.
Right.
But the only thing was, there was a price band wherein people were very comfortable. So this industry was having lots of cash earlier.
Right.
So if you had cash, you never thought about how much percentage of making he's adding.
Right.
All you were interested was like, I want to give away my cash,
Right.
have this jewelry.
Yeah.
You would gift it to your wife,
Right.
bring it for your mother. So you were happy.
Right.
But today, now once everything is say converted into account after demonetization, so people are giving it a second thought that if not gold, I think I should put it across in stock markets. So then I guess everybody opened up a demat account. So the number of demat account open have shot up. So that's how it has been. But then the major factor was this sector was untouched. I was good to get into early and organize my own business, get it professionally run, then get the systems along. Once the systems were in place, then it becomes easier. So with all the unorganized sector to come to an organized picture, it takes a lot of time. First of all, the people who have not been paying taxes, you tell them, आपको भरना ही पड़ेगा. But just because you're getting onto your books, you're building your good books, you have to pay tax. So that is a big pinch, I cannot pay, get me some other way out, I have to pay lesser taxes. So you have to accept that. So 33% is the partner. The government is your partner today. And that's how, so people who have accepted these things, the transformation like GST, digital, having your stocks open, I mean, your entire inventory is declared. So getting into that phase, it takes little time.
Okay.
Jewelry industry was run by all the unorganized people. I mean, I wouldn't put it this way because things happened like it was taking time for them to accept things. People didn't have money. So with gold, there were so many things going around. We could, as I told you, you had sales of jewelry. You would again buy back your old gold jewelry. The third thing, you could do a gold loan against it. If not anything and everything, you simply, when the gold is appreciating, you're selling that. As a jeweler, he's buying a property which is again giving you rent. So you could do multiple things as a jeweler sitting. All you needed to do was just to make it a little organized so that you know where are you standing. So that is where it was like fascinating for me that this is a challenge, let's take it up, let's do something. So that's why we set up and I got into this family business.
Wow, that's quite interesting. So, when did you exactly get into this, and how long did it take for you to organize everything?
I completed my third level of CFA by 2010. By 11, I started. It took me almost 4-5 years to have my books completely on record. So, I mean, it is not that easy because what happens when you have the stock inward, outward every day, the accounting. So, you put in a software and then you start working on it. So, you need a good team to be there on the back end to support each and everything. So, all those, the manual handwritten tags had to be replaced with a barcoded one. So then you have to go back and forth with your chartered accountant to understand, what could happen, what could not. And I mean, he would always say, कि ऐसा मत करो, ये मत करो, because for him it was always easier the less amount of turnover you had. Back then we had VAT. So VAT was much easier, but then for him also it was easier. But then later on, when everything is on books, you as a customer come to us, and if you have to pay me by check, obviously there has to be an invoice, there has to be an hallmark, HUID, everything to be done. Nothing can be hidden anymore. So that's how things have changed.
Okay. And like you initially mentioned that you anyway planning to do business. So if not in this jewelry business, what would you do alternatively?
I would get into real estate.
Real estate. As a broker, builder?
As a builder.
Builder. So my question to you regarding the jewelry business: how much initial capital is required to start a jewelry store?
So if you ask any unorganized person or a medium-sized jeweler today, he would put it as minimum 20-25 kilos of gold, because for him, so there are two types of thinking. Like first is basically a medium-sized jeweler. He thinks that the more stock I have, the more sales I would have, because the customer would even go to a brand, but he wouldn't have that jewelry. So I would win. The customer would come back to me and pay me my jewelry, making charges, and still buy from me. But there is the other set of brands which are there. So they have limited stock, but then just because of their marketing. Now, if you see any leading jeweler, so they have this online access on website, and they have their store in hand. I mean, so physical store which is present. So you as a customer, if you walk into a brand, so you just show them, so that this is a jewelry piece which I'm looking at. So they would state you a different way. They would say that this jewelry piece which is available with me, see it on the tab online, and you just have to look at the difference, that if there is any difference in the finishing on the image and the physical quantity. So then you are correlating and you are like, okay, fine, if that is the way and the finishing is much better in physical presence, so why not I try and see all the designs online? I order one, they are shipping it to me. If I don't like, then I return them back. So it's that easy for a brand store.
Okay.
So the stock keeps on rotating to each and every store.
Okay.
So like if I have 10 stores in hand, so say if you are looking at a particular design which is available, say in my Pune branch, so that Pune branch would directly ship it to you sitting here in Powai at your residence, and you could try, you could be satisfied. If you're not, then you can just send it back. So that's how these big brands have scaled up. So that's how they are winning customers. For a medium size who has not invested yet in taxation, in books, in his stock, so then for him to reach a stock which is completely transparent and open online, like from website to his physical store. So basically, if you see any design and it is available in my store, so you could correlate, okay, fine, मैंने ये देखा था, it is exactly the same, मुझे ये पसंद आ रहा है, I'll buy it. You want to see more designs online, you see more designs, you're still ordering online and you're buying it. That's how the online presence and these brands are built up. So for them, the inventory is quite less.
Okay.
If you talk about any good store, say about would be 5-7 crores. But for a brand, I would say for the diamond jewelry, But with a brand which is like a medium sized jeweler, he would have minimum 20 crores invested, just so that, according to his, probably the old school thought, okay, the more stock I have, then I could sell it cheaper, and I could still have customers faith that, iske paas itna gold hai, I want to still buy from him. But then eventually, like when the generation comes up, the new generation, so they are more used to, sitting idle, and they flip around and they see new designs. So the designs are easily available. So now the trend has changed. Earlier, the jewelers were not sharing their designs. It was simply stated कि, ये मेरा डिज़ाइन है, आप फोटो नहीं खींच सकते हो, मैं आपको दूंगा, आप कॉपी कर लोगे, किसी और से बना लोगे. बट नाउ दीज ज्वेलर्स, they have straightforward given you all the designs, and they are making money. So a jeweler who's sitting, say, suppose in Chembur, and he's asking for a making of 500, 600. So the routine customer would say, "Arey, itna bada diya. Earlier used to charge 300 rupees." But a online brand, like a youngster, he likes a design. Since he had access to the design online on his phone, he is not getting into the details that this brand is still charging me, say, 11,000 or say 2,000 rupees a gram making charges. According to him, okay, fine, today is a sale, 25% off, but still he's charged you a little more. But they are ready to pay because the easy accessibility. But I guess that is where the medium-sized jewelers need to push themselves to beat them up. I mean, this is the only way. Once you adopt the technology, only then you'll be able to stand. And with today's prices, it is really getting more difficult.
But say someone who, like you said, medium-sized jewelers need at least starting capital of 20 crores to set up. But somebody who doesn't have access to that kind of capital, what is the bare minimum which they should have, and how should they raise this kind of funds?
So now I would put it this way: just to start a store.
Yeah.
So now there are two sets of people, put it across. I am little educated. I have worked in this industry under some boss. I have worked for some time, and I know the contacts behind. So I know the wholesalers. I know the karikars. So I would approach them up, and I would say, "Ki chalo theek hai, you give me on credit. I'll sell your goods and I'll return you back."
Okay.
So it used to work, but now customers, they would like to see the designs when they come to the store ready.
Right.
Earlier it used to be I have this 10 design of rings. I start a store with like 4-5 kilos of gold. The store would start because everybody was doing the same format. There was no online, there was no Instagram, no social media, there was no website concept as such, people buying jewelry. But now things have changed a little bit. You have online stores which are displaying you the rate no matter what, but a local jeweler, say, would charge you 5,000 rupees for a piece. The online people, they would charge you 10,000, give you a discount of 10-20%, you're happy. You're still spending 7,000-8,000, which is even higher than the local jeweler. But as a young generation customer, you're not aware and you're not stepping out of your house because you're already occupied with your work. You see online and you're like, okay, fine, ye main manga leta hu. I'm short of time. But you don't get into that research. And most of the people, they don't even get into the background work which your mom used to ask. The mom earlier, they used to come to the store. Even it would have been far off. They would come to the store, they would ask, gold ka itna lag raha hai, making itna lag raha hai, diamond ka itna lag raha hai. Now these brands, they are selling the most lower quality diamonds at the most highest price. But just with a saying that, I'm giving you 100% buyback, customer, I'm just saying, okay, fine, I'm buying it from a brand. He's giving me 100%. I'm not losing anything. So the business has gone to them. The local jeweler who's sitting, I would put it as an example, say 2-gram gold ring with a diamond of say 1 carat. 1 carat small diamonds, not a solitaire, but a small diamonds of like say 2 cents or 5 cents each. So 1 carat, a local jeweler would be selling at 50-60,000 rupees a carat. So the diamond cost is 50-60,000, 60,000 per se. But a brand would give you not VVS, he'll give you an SI quality, one of the lowest ones, and he'll charge you 1,20,000 for it. The thinking is कि 100 में से 2 कस्टमर ही आएगा रिटर्न करने, बाकी कस्टमर तो लेके ही जा रहा है. ये लोकल ज्वेलर बेचारा बैठा है कि मैं सस्ता दे रहा हूँ, मेकिंग फ्री करता हूँ, मैं ये करता हूँ, पर वही जो रिंग है, if I have 2 same rings, a brand would sell it for not less than 1.5 lakhs. ये बेचारा जो छोटा ज्वेलर है ये 70-80,000 में भी बेच रहा है ना, ही स्टिल नॉट मेकिंग गुड अमाउंट ऑफ मनी. So that is the power of a brand, and that is the power how these branded stores, as I mentioned, they are working on a very low amount of capital in each store. So they have divided their capital among 5 to 10 stores. But this local person, he is still banking on those people who are not going online and who come to your store. They buy it from you, and he still tries to run with this. कि I'll give you a discount, making free कर देता हूँ. But still, the margins have been crushed, and brands are making money.
How should they go about choosing the right location for their store?
So for a store, there are two things. Now, a brand will never compete or never come into the market where all the local jewelers are there. If you see a brand, they'll always stand out somewhere outside of the market, just because they would provide a service orientation, like there's car parking availability, is easy accessibility, and they want people who actually are accessible and who wants to come to a brand. So the mindset, when you go to a brand to buy a jewelry, you're already prepared that I'm buying a brand, so I'm going to pay a little higher price. But you come to the local jeweler, all the jewelers which are located just nearby. So
Right.
you'll have 5 jewelers all together next to each other.
Yeah.
So once you come to them, you will either do two things. The first thing will be, he's selling little cheaper, so is he giving me a good quality? But the certificate, now the certification which is there, that makes the product standardized. So now in diamonds, you have, like, say, about VVS, and the bottom is SI quality. Very, very slight inclusion, and you have SI, which is slight inclusion. So now in this, when you talk about VVS, so it is one of the clearest piece in diamond. SI would have lots of germs or black knots and dots in it. So other brands, to make a better margin of profit, so they'll buy always the lower quality. They'll show a brand ambassador, and then they'll ask for a price and say that I'm giving you 100% return. People do not compare the pricing or the quality that they are buying. They are all interested is, this is my budget. I got it for 10,000. I'll use it. Okay, fine. Even if I have to return, I'm not going to return. So when they buy from a brand, they have this mindset ready that I'm not going to return, because they feel, I have paid a premium, and मैं अगर वो local jeweler में जाके sell करूँगा. So the true story is that jewelry would be made by a local jeweler exactly the same for almost, like, say, 30-40% price lesser.
Like you mentioned, like local jewelers, usually they are in a cluster or they're together, like 4-5 stores are together. Why is that so?
So they feel कि उसका कस्टमर मेरे पास आ जाएगा, मेरा कस्टमर उसके पास जाएगा, बाजू में देखेगा उसके पास सेल है क्या नहीं है, मैं ही खाली बैठा हूँ कि वो भी खाली बैठा है, आज सेल है कि नहीं. सो दे ऑलवेज लाइक टू बी विद इन द सेम, एंड इट इज़ ऑलवेज सेट कि कस्टमर उधर नहीं पटेगा तो इधर पट जाएगा. So it is always like that. But brands have a different concept altogether. They'll never be inside this market, because again the comparison will be much easier. So anybody who goes to a brand and the next store you have, say, Sorabh Jewellers. So then he would come and Sorabh Jewellers guy would say, अरे sir, उसका gold making ज़्यादा है, उसका rate ज़्यादा है. So the customer would never step back to them. So that's why they want to have a standalone store. That is very simple. I mean, it is sorted and done. So they never, the local jeweler will always find a space within the local market.
Right.
The brand would always find a space outside wherein there are brands of, like, clothing store or a brand store of, say, iPhone. So somewhere like that. So that, they appear to be like a brand standalone store.
Okay. As a kid, I was always very curious how the jeweler used to make money. So let's answer that question today. So what is the primary source of revenue for a jeweler? I think you mentioned earlier, one is gold loan. One is in terms of investment, we keep it. You take back old jewelry, that is another thing, and making charges is probably one. And so you can just let me know the primary source of revenue for a jeweler and how much do they typically make?
So it depends. The answer depends. If you're going to put this podcast and it's going to be shown to an income tax officer, the answer is different. But if you ask me as a person, a jeweler makes money in multiple ways around. He has everything and anything to do with, because it is that liquid, and gold can be used with anything and everything. So if I'm really scared. Should I answer the question honestly, or should I just speak what is there on the books? Like,
No, you can.
but for on the record books, so it's always like the capital invested. Now, if you compare it with all the other industry,
Right.
real estate, you invest in the land,
Correct.
the prices increase,
Yeah.
so your capital is growing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you and I, say, suppose you started a store with clothing. You have your profits or your margins only when you sell that product at a higher margin. As in me, I have invested in gold. So my capital, like your capital, say 10 lakhs I started, 10 lakhs you started. So with 10 lakhs, my capital is appreciating every year. Now it has gone to a stage wherein it is almost a crore rupees. But for you, the more sale you do, only then your capital grows. So you did not grow as much as I grew. I'm talking about this entire decade of 10 years, wherein the entire commodities, all the commodities, whoever into steel or probably copper, who were dealing with land or who were, I mean, commodities in per se, and gold and silver. So if I had invested that capital, so my capital grew, my purchasing power grew. So I opened up multiple branches. But for you, only until you had sales, you could sell multiple times, like you had more turnover, only then you made money. But for me, if the product didn't work, I melted, I remade a new design, and I again put it up on display. I sold it off. Customers who come and sell me back, again melt that gold, again make a new jewelry, again I sell it back. Say suppose if I have this license and I could do money lending. So if I do that, so the gold which I sold to a customer who would definitely come back to me, he would mortgage it, he would give me some interest over it. So that was second business. But primary for you, if I see as a clothing, all you had one single primary source was just sell, sell, and sell. But for me, I got into this. Then the second thing was once my capital was growing, I took out little amount of money, which was like the capital appreciated one. So I took out little amount of money and I invested in real estate. Now, boom, it happened to be like with real estate, little bit of loan in gold, little bit of loan. Both the assets are growing. I do cross and I, put my money in real estate or from real estate, whichever profit I've accumulated, I again put it back into gold. I increase my stock. The more amount of stock anybody has. So the fact is, the more amount of stock that you have, the more business you have.
Okay.
Now, for example, like a medium-sized jeweler like me, if I have 10 chains, so the customer, there would be a possibility that, my sales staff would not be able to address and convince every customer that, fine, I don't have it right now, but I'll bring in tomorrow. The customer might wait, he might not wait. But if I have 100 chains, then where has he to go? I have all the categories of chain, like it could be Coimbatore, it could be Italian, it could be plain design, machine chains, handwork chains, everything. I would have five pieces each. Where would the customer go? And the price range. So now it's a time wherein you have to be ready with a price band like the grammage from 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 20. It cannot be like the old times, like, I like the design, just I want it. Because the customers back then were also buying it without even concerned with the price. But 1 lakh rupee for 10 grams. So you really think twice that, should I buy this? Should I really put in my money? But there are multiple ways actually wherein you can buy gold. All you need to ask a jeweler, like, how do I systematically plan it? Once you plan, it is easy to buy jewelry and there is no loss as such. Gold has given returns, but it has never been that, today I've invested and tomorrow I want. But yeah, in case of any emergency, you can sell it to anybody. You buy it in Chembur and you sell it in Powai, nobody would say, "Nahi, boss, I cannot buy," because it is now all standardized. Our industry has transformed. You get certificates for diamond, you get certificates for gold. You have this hallmarking serial number known as HUID. So that helps you that, boss, this is certified. Anybody, you buy jewelry from Malabar and you sell it to any outsider, he will pay you a much better price because it is all standardized today. So the industry has transformed and the revenue has also increased. Earlier there used to be caratage, which is like told to be 22 carat, but it was never 22 because it was all without this XFRF machine, like the X-ray machines that you have for jewelry testing, that were never in place. So that much amount of leeway was always there because we didn't have this modernized machinery and equipments. Now we have everything available here. They all imported. You have the best of the finishing. First, we used to rely on Italian jewelries. So the makings were really high only in Italian. So we used to have a separate section that this is Italian. So if you like the design, you have to pay so much amount. But now those machines are really imported here. They are manufacturing here. The finishing is exactly the same. The costing is cheaper. So that is where we are still making money to say that, this is imported, but it is manufactured here. So customers do pay a little bit more of making charges on those. So primarily you have so many things around now. You ask any jeweler now, how much is he making a year? He will never know the number. All he knows is how many kilos did I start my store with, and how many kilos I have it in my hand. So it is always calculated in terms of grammage. And even in terms, if you ask like, say suppose if you started with 10 kilos, but at the year end you are standing at 12 kilos. So when I started my store, it was 20,000. But when the year end, it is almost 25,000. So that price appreciation, the grammage appreciation. So to understand technically from a jeweler perspective, how much is he making? Even he does not know.
Oh,
Even he does not know.
okay. But for our viewers to understand, because viewers consist of aspiring entrepreneurs who want to get into this line of business. So they are, say for example, if they somehow get a hand of 20 crores and they invest it, how long does it typically take for them to recoup that money back? And what are the profit margins in the business so they understand kitna time it will take to break even and get to profitability?
So one thing which you've recently seen is Aditya Birla Group, which has come up with Indriya
Right.
brand.
Yeah.
So now, once if you're a brand, you are spending a lot of amount of money on marketing. The store is ready. So people come to you because they connect with you as a brand and they like your design. So if somebody wants to really start, they have to start with a brand, think of a concept and then come into.
Okay.
But if you start with a local, the journey is still going to be the same. You can do your market research. Say suppose if you have say 20 crores and you want to start with 5 crores investments in like four places around. Say I would put it this way. I open one store in Chembur, one store in Powai, one store in Ghatkopar and one store in say Kurla, for example. So the amount of capital I keep equally like 5 crores each. But the crowd over here in Powai would be little different because they are more youngsters working IT based. So they would want a little lighter jewelry. So the market research needs to be done. If you come down to Chembur, now there is a mixed crowd in Chembur. So the market has South Indians, Maharashtrians, Punjabis, Sindhis. So the taste is little different. So you have to understand the market. You do the market research. Then there is so the place like Ghatkopar. So they want a little bit of more filigree work, the colorful work, the kundan, polki work, which does not work in Chembur. You come down to Powai, it will work because the crowd over here is again, you would say, put it as this way that they are cream crowd. I mean, they are not the regular buyers. They want something really exclusive. They're ready to pay. You go down to Vashi today, Vashi 10 years back and Vashi today, it has transformed drastically. Just like Powai, if you see today, the crowd over here is really asking for different jewelry. The regular yellow gold stuff will not work here, but the yellow gold stuff will work in Kurla. So that market research needs to be done. You come up as a good name, as a brand. You need to have the transparency. Your books need to be clean so that you can work with multiple people around, and boom, you can enter. I mean, the only restrict over here is you need that capital. That's all.
So what are your suggestions on how can one get access to such kind of capital?
So, as a brand, if you ask, they would definitely have funding from the banks because of the other division of the line of business that they would have. For a newcomer as a starter to start with, you'll have to start with one store at least. You'll have to borrow capital. But then I would put it this way that today, borrowing capital and starting a business would be a little riskier because, say, suppose if you are borrowing 5 crore rupees, you end up paying 50 lakh rupees as an interest, say, simple interest of 1% each. So 50 lakhs earning just to absorb that much amount of interest, even if you're not able to survive, you're not able to do any business, you need that capacity to hold and sit tight. You need a partner. So the first thing, I mean, I would put it this way: if I have a partner who's willing to be patient enough 4-5 years down the line and be sitting along with you, so that your ideas could work, because it takes time. In a retail format, it is not a magic like I just put up a store and people would start coming in. Obviously customers would come up to you only when they get free making, but then how many days can you give free? It has to stop. You have to start making money. So it needs little time, but then you need somebody who does not count interest in the business. If you're supposed to count interest, this is the reason why the fund managers were never interested earlier, but because the capital is appreciating. So if you see the other way around, I had say 1 crore in hand. I invested in some asset with like a gold. I started a jewelry store. So now this 1 crore has now risen to like 2 crores. So my interest part is taken care because my capital grew. But had the capital not grew, so then how do I service my interest part? The banks would definitely come to your store asking, give me the amount of interest at least. Forget the principal part, but service the interest part. So then you need to have a little bit of backup. So there are barriers to it. It's not that easy that, today you want to start and you can start selling the jewelry that you like. So it's a research, it takes little time, but it is manageable.
And say three, like in your 3 to 4 years is a good amount of time for them to recoup their initial investment back.
Minimum 3 to 4 years, because people surrounding you would like to come and see your store. They would like to know, okay, fine, you are there since a long time. It is not just that you open today and then you're not there after a year or two. You are having these schemes which are ongoing, like the gold super saving scheme, which actually helps a buyer. But then it shouldn't happen the other way around, because just one of the jeweler who failed, so then the tag is that these jewelers, they promise and now they are shut down, because those were actually on rent. And the brands, when they come up, they don't buy the premises. But a local jeweler who comes, he comes with a mindset, I should buy this jewelry store, I will invest stock in it, so it is my own. So then the assurity is there that I'm not going to run away, I'm not going to shut down. But the problem is that liquidity and the amount of holding capacity, because now the investment is huge. So the 5 kilo gold which I have to start with, it will just be like one sort of display, but the amount invested would be 5 crores. Now, if you ask me that how much are you selling, and if I don't have the answers, and if I'm not having the right items to sell, the customers which are wanting and demanding, then I'm losing a big time.
What are the profit margins in jewelry? Like if you for example, if you sell gold, if you sell diamond, silver, typically
So-
how does the
So if I'm starting as a beginner,
Yeah.
I would keep my margins low, but not less than 5-6%.
okay?
But if I'm like, now I'm set in the market, I really want to break even, I want to make little profit, then I would have different sort of jewelries which you cannot compare to anyone. So like a plain gold chain, you give me 4-5% of margin, that is okay, because you're going to compare ki ye chain mujhe chahiye, you'll go to any brand or any other local jeweler, you'll get it easily. But if I have some jewelry which are very different, which you don't find it anywhere else, so that is where I can make money.
Okay.
So say for example temple jewelry, or say polki jewelries, or I have this Hyderabad studded jewelry, so which others are not having. So you come to my store and you like it. So you are willing to pay me whatever I charge you, because you're not finding that jewelry anywhere else. You would do your research. The first instance you'll come, you'll see, you'll try to gauge, you'll try to memorize the design, because you're not allowed to take photographs. So you'll go to other store and you'll try to describe, अरे वो रूबी वाला होगा, अरे वो कुछ पोल्की वाला होगा तो दिखाओ. But once you have liked the jewelry na, your mind is stuck over there and you'll not like any other jewelry henceforth. So then for that reason you need to have a unique design. That is where you can command a price, and then that is where you make about 12 to 14% of margins in it.
So for simple calculation, somebody selling 1 lakh rupee worth jewelry is approximately making, if as a beginner, say 5,000 rupees, and
4-5,000.
and if you're selling something which is unique, it's 12,000-13,000 rupees.
12-13,000 rupees.
And like this is the best one can do, or can
The brands do charge you higher. They would charge you minimum 20-24%, because their costs are a little higher. They have to pay the lease, they have an MBA who's hired. But in a local person, it is just a fourth fail person who's just been taught, and he's standing and he's convincing a customer and he's selling. So his salary compared to an MBA is obviously almost 1/10 of the cost. So they have to charge you. He has a brand ambassador. The premises which he's bought would have been huge premises. The stock which he would have, a brand would have, is much higher compared to a local guy who's not able to convince. So now obviously if I come up to you and if I come up to your residence and I ask you कि sir, I am from so and so jeweler, you would say हाँ ठीक है मैं आपको बताता हूँ. Until unless you haven't heard my name. The moment you hear my name and I come to your residence, I come to your doorstep and I say that I'm coming from so and so brand, you would still okay fine. अच्छा बताओ क्या scheme है, क्या है आपके पास? Because that is what is making the difference now in jewelry industry. The more pricier it is getting, the more luxury sort of statement it's getting. So the more expensive it is about to happen, you need to become a brand, so that I could convince you, I could make you walk into my store. Once you walk in, then you are mine. But for a local, that is the only difficulty which is left. Once a local jeweler understands and takes this step, then it's going to be a battle between these jewelers and the brands, and the brands will not be able to actually outsmart or not compete with them until unless it's a capital difference which we have. A brand would have X amount for marketing expenditure. This person would just have about small investments, like not putting up hoardings, but paper pamphlets. So that's how he's going to compete.
And how does the jewelry get priced? What goes into the costing? The gold, considering the gold rate, the making charges. So what is the process like to price a jewelry?
So every jewelry, the price is updated every day.
Okay.
So the price of a 22 carat would be derived from 24 carats rate as on today. So like today, the rate is say about 90,000 for 24 carats. So you multiply that by 22 carat. So you derive at that rate. The making charges would depend on what wastage or the labor the karigar has charged you for that. So if your store is barcoded and it is an organized sector sort, you know exactly because the label would have everything written in its code. So you would have a karigar who has charged you like say 4-5% wastage. So 10 grams chain, 4% is what the karigar has charged, 5% minimum I need. So the total 4 and 5 would be 9%. So 9% is my margin on 10 grams of chain. So 9% would be 900 milligrams. Now that 900 milligrams today, as on today, would be around 4,500 rupees. So that's how the total making is seen. But I am getting only half of it. So 2,000 is what I'm making on a lakh rupee. So it keeps on changing
So this works on volume basically. You have to sell quite a lot to
quite
make.
a lot.
Okay. And what's the most expensive jewelry item which you have sold? And how is that? Why was it so special?
So there was this entire necklace which was of uncut diamonds. So honestly asking, it was you couldn't gauge the amount that could be asked for, because these pieces, they are handcrafted, and the karigar would charge you an X amount. So it is not that wherein you'll ask him that if this is the gold, this is the labor, so this should be the price. It is never like that. So it is the time which I've spent on making this. So it is for the value for the time. So that's how. But in amount terms, if you ask, back then when the gold rate was around 40,000 odd rupees, so the jewelry single set costed around 1 crore and 52 lakh. So that is where even I was little shaky, how do I pitch, because there is no breakup. But then the customer was confident and he was like, I want exactly like this. So there were like entire 5-line chains, a choker. And I was like, okay, fine. If this deal goes through, then it is nice.
So, like you said, if margins are say typically 5% on a 1 crore sale, you will typically.
So 5% is for the plain jewelries,
Okay.
the smaller ones. But these sets like 1.5 crores, wherein you're spending so much, the making is just lump sum. It could be 20%,
Okay.
15%, 25%, depending on the customer. So if I knew somebody, he's into construction and he wants something really exclusive and he's ready to spend. So there's a wedding in the house and he really wants to spend. So I would first ask him that, are you willing to spend that much amount of money on making charges? If he's okay, yeah, I want something different, then that is where you earn a little bit more extra. But most of the jewelries which are in store, they fetch you only about 10 to 12 or 15%. But the 4-5% which I was talking about was all the plain machine bangles, which is made out of machine. So it is easier to manufacture. The specifics are the same. So it could be machine chain or a machine bangle. So that is where the margins are a little low. But the rest of the jewelry you make nearly about 8, 9 and 12%.
But say at a jewelry store level, retail level, if for approximately they make 1 crore sale a month, approximately 12 crores a year, 10% of that is approximately 1.2 crores a year ka gross margins. But after that, they'll have a lot of charges, right? Of in terms of the real estate, the staff. So considering everything, typically how much do they make net at a store level?
So I would say somewhere around 40-50 lakhs.
Okay. And how is the gold rate determined daily? Because I believe every day the
Keeps on changing.
it keeps on changing. So how do you all how is it determined? Do you all have a base or do you all get any reference from somebody?
So there are two ways to it, now you can directly import your gold if you are an exporter. But if you're not able to import, so then there are importers who import gold. So then there is this LBMA, that is London Bullion Market Association. They set their gold prices AM and PM. So they have a set time, then they set the prices accordingly. The US market opens up or the Indian markets are open. So they just take a reference, and then availability, the physical availability of the gold, the prices are set. Like if I'm selling 2 kilos today, I need to buy again the 2 kilos. So the basic mantra in any jewelry format would be that how much ever I'm selling today, the next day I have to buy and I have to maintain my stock. If I don't do that, then I'm done. Then I'm out of business because my stock is depleting. I cannot do that. Say suppose if I say about every day I sell about 500 kilo, I sell about 500 grams of gold every day. It could be anything. I mean 500 grams is what I'm selling every day. So the next day I have to buy 500 grams at whatever be the rate. I sold my customer at say 90,000, but tomorrow when I open up and it is 91, I still have to buy. Even if I'm having a loss, but I still need to buy because if I don't maintain that system, then I'll end up losing just thinking that, when the rate comes down, I'll buy. That cannot happen. You have to be disciplined with this rate pattern, because usually what happens is a customer comes today, he has a wedding in the house, and he comes to you and he places an order. So obviously, if the jewelry place order is about 10 lakhs, a jeweler would ask about 5 lakhs as an advance. But in 5 lakhs, you don't get 10 lakhs ka gold available from anywhere. So he has to put in his 5 lakhs or 4 lakhs so that he completes the entire craftsmanship, keeps it ready, and then sells it to the customer. But in this time, the gold prices has never declined. They have always increased and increased. So it has always been a problem for a retailer. He has taken an order, say at 90,000. By the time he delivers in a month's time, the gold rate is 95 or 98. So now he has to consider that 10% to मुझे gold price में loss हो गया. So whatever making I was making is already gone in the gold price. So then the second alternative for him to do would be to hedge himself out or ask an advance from a customer. But then again, it is a challenge because a customer would say, I would come at the time of delivery, see the product and make the entire payment and go out. So then the retailer also needs to have a working capital kept aside so that he could hedge the price risk. Okay. So hedging, again, you can understand this from MCX. You can buy gold on it, a futures contract, so that the price of yours is locked.
Okay.
So you need somebody from a finance background to do all this. So this whole thing, I mean, whatever I learned in my education background, so I could use them up. I could place derivatives. I could, simply hedge. That's how you can keep on growing. Because if I hadn't maintained my stock, so today I wouldn't be landing with so much amount of gold which used to be there. Because usually it has been a practice whenever the gold prices increase, people always think इसको मैं बेच देता हूँ, बढ़ गया है, कुछ और ले लेता हूँ. But gold kept on increasing. Bhale, even if you're buying anything, buy it on a loan, but don't sell your gold. Just maintain the stock which is there. So that is what has helped us maybe to grow, honestly.
So, like you said, for gold price fluctuations, you hedge your risk by getting into derivative contracts, and like you initially mentioned at the start of our podcast, that gold price rising, which is almost for 1 lakh, which came down to approximately 90 now, rise in gold prices does not affect you adversely. In fact, more people are coming and buying at a higher rate.
Yeah. So what happens initially, it takes a hit.
Okay.
So for the customers also, they need to digest कि अरे यार मैं 90 में खरीद लेता, पर अभी 1 लाख हो गया, अभी भी खरीद लेता हूँ, नहीं तो और फिर 1,10 होने वाला है. So that fear of further increase, so they plan to buy it. The quantity, the grammage is reducing, but the amount remains the same because everybody has it in their amount basis.
Right.
So, but people who have done the super saving scheme, so say suppose if you have a wedding in your house and you want to spend about say like 25 lakhs on a gold jewelry. So you would do the reverse calculation and you would take up a gold super saving scheme. You approach a jeweler and you tell him that this is 2 lakh per month that I'm depositing with you. 12 months I'll deposit this to 2 lakh rupees. So this will be 24 lakhs. The jeweler will give you 2 lakhs as a bonus. So you can buy jewelry worth of 26 lakhs. Now, end of the year, the rate is always applicable at the end of the year. But then with this 2 lakh bonus, you are setting off the making charges which were any which ways applicable. Had you not done a scheme like this, you would have approached, say, by the year end when you really wanted to buy a jewelry. You go to a jeweler and say, okay, fine, I'm buying this. You take 25 lakh, 26 lakhs, and you're buying the jewelry. So you would have ended up paying that making charge. But now the jeweler gave you a bonus of 2 lakhs. So then you save that much amount of money on your making, and your jewelry is absolutely free. So this is one of the tricks wherein all the people, all the working class, whoever have done this schemes, so they have really been able to make jewelries, and they have been able to complete their purchases for weddings or any occasion in the house. Because it is always easier said, हाँ मैं बाद में ले लूँगा, पर बाद में कुछ नहीं होता. You always have to plan, and it is also, I mean, even today's time, the more you plan earlier, the better always. Because gold is not going to stop here. With the amount of debt which is there in the market, the gold is not going to stop here any which way.
What's your view to what rate are you expecting in the coming years?
I mean, nobody knows. I mean, if you hear the fund managers out in US and all, they are seeing gold at $6,000 an ounce. That is almost what, 2 lakhs. Silver could be again, just go haywire because it is now being used as industrial and EV and all. So commodities, I mean, commodities again, gold is until unless it is mined, you don't have gold in your hand. Once the mining stop, the supply is limited, then again the prices has to shot up. So that's what has happened. I mean, even if you see now, US is the major holder of gold, just like oil, which is, oil and gold. India has been accepting gold as a foreign exchange. Earlier we used to store dollar, but now they have started increasing their gold foreign exchange reserve. So they have been buying gold and keeping it because it is increasing in value and it is liquid. So all the central banks are doing that. So prices could just jump. It is just a matter of time, Now this war came up, so the prices shot up. Something in Iraq, Syria, and any event happening, the gold prices are rising. So tomorrow again, like if you see in COVID, I see in demonetization, the gold rates were around 30,000. In COVID, the rates, the shops were closed at around 37. When the shops opened up, it was 47. So 10 lakh rupees jump in 1 kilo. So, and after that, almost the gold has never stopped. Every year, like per kg, the gold prices have increased by 7 to 8 lakhs and 10 lakhs.
How do you ensure the physical and financial safety of your inventory?
Insurance.
Insurance.
Completely insurance.
Okay, and is that a significant amount which you have to pay to?
Yeah, you have to be honest with the insurance company, irrespective of whatever is shown, not shown in your books. But you have to share the details that this many kilos are there in my premises. This is outside, and it all has to be insured. Either it be like because of fire or because of theft or anything, but everything has to be.
But in rupee terms, does that cost a lot to get an insurance, or is it?
Yeah, it does, because every year it keeps on increasing. So last year I valued my stock at say 50,000 rupees. So suppose for example the stock value was 50 crores. So 50 crores ka premium is decided.
So approximately on a 50 crore stock, how much is the premium?
Around lakh or 2 lakh.
So that's pretty manageable.
Pretty manageable. But then the problem is you need to have a safe for it, a strong room. If you don't have, then the premium is a little higher because the risk is even higher. Okay. Because if there is a safe, then it takes time to actually have a robbery done inside. But if it is outside, it is quite easy. So the premiums are a little lower, and it all depends on the amount of stock, because every year, since I mentioned like 50,000, so 50 crores, 60 crores, now it is 100 crores. So in that terms, the premium keeps on increasing every year. So last year we paid about 2.5 lakh rupees. So it keeps on changing. They have their own terms. If the stock is outside, then the premium is even more higher. But then you have to be updated with the insurance company. You need to tell them all the truth. The security is there, not there. Everything is taken care of. You need to have securities today.
Okay. So what trends are currently popular in this business in terms of jewelry?
As the price increases, maybe the lighter jewelry. The diamond jewelry. So we used to have earlier only 18 carats. Now we are coming up with 14 carats. So the lesser the percentage of gold, the amount of gold which is there, it is lesser. We can have started with diamonds and all. So diamonds and little bit of mina, thinner chains. So that is taken care.
And having been in this business for so long, have you faced any experience with a customer which taught you a lot about the business, like any specific customer or situation? And would you like to share anything about it?
They always come up to you and say, अरे वो तो इतना कम दे रहा है, वो ब्रांड है पर आप ब्रांड नहीं हो फिर भी आप इतना ले रहे हो. अल्टीमेटली उसको मिलता नहीं है. मतलब वो खाली हमको आके बताएगा कि इतना कम होना चाहिए, बट दे विल गो टू अ ब्रांड, ओपन देयर वॉलेट एंड चुपचाप उसको जो मांगेगा उसको पेमेंट करके आएगा. बट देन ऑलवेज कस्टमर्स आर लाइक दे आर आवर टीचर्स, दे डू टीचर्स कि इसने ऐसे, आई मीन द स्टाफ इज नॉट टॉकिंग प्रॉपरली, इज नॉट एक्सप्लेनिंग. सो दे आर ऑलवेज द फीडबैक सॉर्ट कि दे टेल अस एंड दे टीच अस कि दिस इज नॉट राइट. So I have a very few, I mean, the clientele which we have is always like so close. I mean, we talk to everybody. So we try to understand, this is right, this is not right. We have come up with this thing. You guide us. So at times we have also asked our customers that, you do the selection from the wholesalers that we are buying. So if there's a customer and, we feel that this design would work or not. So we ask our customers, would you like to buy this jewelry? And she was like, no, I don't like this taste. But the taste is again a matter of choice. I mean, everybody has a different choice and taste. But for a jeweler, it is always difficult that, मैं ये ले रहा हूँ, ये बना रहा हूँ, ये बिकेगा नहीं बिकेगा. And at times, when we feel कि अरे यार ये तो मस्त है, ये तो बिक जाएगा, वो बिकता ही नहीं है सालों साल. और जो हम सोचते हैं कि अरे यार इतने साल से नहीं बिक रहा है, इसको एक काम करते हैं, इसको खाली क्लीन कराते हैं और इसको या तो मेल्ट कर देते हैं. And suddenly one day, somebody comes and says कि अरे ये तो मस्त पीस है, I wanted this only. So we are puzzled कि अरे करे तो करे क्या. So in retail there is this mix and match which is always there.
So how do you stay relevant and competitive in your industry? Because at a mid-size jewelry store like yours, how do you compete with the big brands versus the other mid-size jewelers?
Relations, public relation, PR. Touch with the customers, personal touch, always being transparent and whatever is there. See, today's time now, if you lie about anything now, if you say that I am the only jeweler who has so much amount of stock, I'm giving you at a reasonable price, they are not interested. You would definitely want to buy it from a friend or a known person whom you could bank on. Tomorrow, if you don't like the jewelry, so you're buying jewelry worth more than lakh, 2 lakh, 5 lakh, 10 lakhs. So you want to buy it from somebody whom you're really comfortable with. You wouldn't just walk into anybody and say, okay, fine, I like your brand and I want to buy and I'm spending 5 lakh and 10 lakhs. And tomorrow, once you go back and you have any problem and then they don't, come up with the way that you really expected. So you would always want somebody who's friendly, whom you're comfortable with. So that is what is helping. I mean, I would really say there is again a little bit more of time wherein you can just approach and be approachable. The more comfortable you make, the more transparent you be with the customer, the more open and you share everything. That is the best part that could happen. Okay. The more you hide, the more stories you make, it will backfire one day or the other.
Okay. Have you explored the social media angle yet in terms of marketing?
We want to. But the problem as it is, when you're handling the physical store all by yourself, so then you need a team who puts in all that effort. We are really now being aggressive to get onto it, to explore that market. But I feel probably my background of being from finance, I could only focus on few things like, just taking care of the back end operations and all those things. But yeah, marketing is a thing which really should be taken care. So we are getting into it.
Okay. And how do you see the future of jewelry business? I think towards a lot of things are moving towards digital and even lab grown diamonds are coming up now. So what's your view on that?
Technology kills the older version. So now lab grown is the in thing. As a buyer, as a friend, if you would ask me that what should I buy, obviously go with a lab grown solitaires. Because the solitaire, a natural diamond would cost you, because it's a luxury and it's a a luxury and a very pricey thing. So solitaire in your mind, say 1 carat would cost you around 5-6 lakh. But if I tell you the other way around, you'll be convinced and you would say, हाँ क्या फर्क पड़ता है? So a smarter way to do things around is, you take a lab grown, you take box of any branded store. So you go to a branded store and just buy one small half a gram earring. You take this lab grown studded jewelry, you put it in that branded store's box and you gift it to your mother, your girlfriend or your wife and just say, I bought it for 6 lakhs. You don't give any invoices, anything to them. It is not exchangeable because I got it at a discounted price. she will assume and she'll presume that okay fine मेरे को दिया है and he's saying 6 lakhs has been spent, so ये naturally होगा. Nobody can tell you the difference. Forget the jeweler. At times even the laboratories are in a situation wherein it is that close. The properties are really the same. So there is no difference at all. So one of my friends, he's doing this lab grown. He first started with moissanite, then got into this. He also does diamond jewelry. So there are a set of people who have a mind blockage. I want to buy a lab grown diamond jewelry, or I just want to buy the real diamond jewelry. But if you ask me financially, practical decision to take, if I would have 6 lakhs and I would just buy one solitaire, 1 carat of 6 lakhs, I would rather take a lab grown of 10,000. Remaining 5.5 lakhs, I would invest somewhere, I would get a return, and I would enjoy my life. I would spend it on luxury items which I'm not able to. But just because of this one solitaire, I'm stuck. My budget is over. Now I cannot do anything. But the feeling with anybody, like even if I'm wearing or even if your mother is wearing, there is no difference because the shine, the finish, it's exactly the same. And really nobody can understand if it is a lab grown or not. But just because a person like he is wearing, so it has to be a diamond, and just because I've told, it is a diamond. It is a diamond. So lab grown has taken over diamonds at the moment. Smaller diamonds, again, the real diamond jewelries are working. But with gold, you never know if anything like this comes up. So then it's again the technology, only the time will come and say.
Do you see anything coming similar in gold, or?
We had some videos which were there, something chemically drawn by Chinese and all. But now you don't even know the difference between AI made or if it is naturally. It is that cleaner, but you never know.
Okay. And from a customer's perspective, how should the customer ensure that they're buying the jewelry at the right price in the right manner? How should they avoid getting cheated or being overcharged or misled?
So the best practice is to, whenever you buy any jewelry, you can the easier way, I would put it this way. If I'm in your position now as a jeweler, I would just take my jewelry, go to any other jeweler and just show him and ask him, ki boss, I want to make a similar jewelry like this. I want to make a similar chain or a bangle like this. How much it would cost? Then you know the fair price, then and there. So he would say it is costing 1 lakh. And you would have bought it, say, for 98. So you will feel delighted, superb, I saved 2,000 rupees. Okay. But if you ask any other jeweler only just to justify his costing, it would always differ. I would always go with my books of charging you 4-5%. But say suppose if I'm sitting idle, the sale is slow, the rainy season is there, nobody is coming, and you as a customer walk in and you tell me, you give me a discount. And I really want to, get off that jewelry. So I would give you at a discount and probably you'll not find it somewhere else. Okay. At times, so it is a game which the jewelers keep on playing. They would give you for free, no making charge. Because it was an old piece. So I just wanted it to be off the shelf. So I gave it for without making. Without making also technically includes the making charges paid to the karikar. Okay. So it's never technically you have paid only for the gold. The little making charge that has gone to the karikar, that has always to be taken.
But can they follow any standard rules or procedures when they're buying to ensure that they are in safe hands?
See, that is the best thing. See, now if I may ask you, you go to buy any shirt, any trouser, as anywhere. So you just buying because the brand is asking for that price. You go to another store, you'll not find the same product. So same with, say, cars and all. They're all different. Because they know if they make similar types of cars, then it is easier to compare. Apple iPhones, those are all standardized products wherein you can compare apple to apple. But with jewelry, the gold price would vary 50-100 rupees, not more than that. Okay. Making charges would vary by 100-200 rupees, not more than that. Okay. But the best thing to do for a customer would be just to, go ahead and cross-check, how much, if I remake a new one at your store, how much would you charge me? So your answer is very simple, and you'll be, and in today's time, nobody wants to cheat.
Achha. Okay.
Because of this hallmarking, the fear that you have, if your product is not hallmark, your store can be shut down just within a day or two. So whatever goodwill and all you had can all be shut down and can be put to an end within just a week or 10 days. So nobody wants to play. If my jewelry is hallmarked, if it is authenticate, I have a certificate. I'm charging you so much amount of making charges. You can always cross check with all the jewelers which are in line. Cross check with the brand. You be satisfied and only then you buy.
But this is in terms of genuine buyers, I mean, genuine jewelers. But is there any red flag which they should look out for if somebody is cheating and somebody is new to this and they don't know how it works, and if they're doing something which indicates poor quality or dishonest pricing, are there any red flags which they can look out for?
These are all were there earlier when the XFRF machines were not there.
Achha, now
But
present,
now, see, you're getting a tax invoice today.
okay.
So in the tax invoice, it is clearly mentioned, the grammage is mentioned. If it is hallmark 916 is written, the HUID, the serial number is laser inscribed on every jewelry. So you have a different number, serial number on each and every jewelry, which you can always go and cross check with your Bureau of Indian Standards, that is BIS Hallmarking Center on the website. You put in the serial number and it will show you when it was hallmarked, right? So that is there for gold jewelries. Now you go down to diamond jewelry, they give you a certificate from IGI, that is International Gemological Institute. You have GIA. So these institutes, they certify the diamonds, they verify the gold, and they give you a certificate. So any product that you buy is now, it is standardized, and it is as per the quality which is mentioned in that certificate. Nobody can do that cheating because the certificate has a serial number, and that serial number will be inscribed on the jewelry. So everything matches. Now it is not like earlier period कि अरे ये jewelry दिया था, ये इसका bill नहीं है, nothing of that sort.
But say someone who has purchased the jewelry long time back when the system was not implemented and they go to sell now, how should they ensure that they are not being cheated that time?
See, now if you're exchanging the jewelry, you can always get it checked. You get a report that what purity it is. Now old jewelries, as I mentioned, if it was 22 kdm, it would be 20%, I mean it would be 20 carats only. The purity was lesser by 2 kdm, I mean 2 carats. But the making charge paid then was just about 40-50 rupees. So today, if you have to consider this way, that you are getting your full price, there is no deduction of 5% or 10%. Say suppose 10 grams of gold chain is there of say 85% purity, which was bought earlier, which was available then, now it is not available. So 85% was the purity. So 10 grams into 85% is 8.5 grams of pure gold.
Yeah.
Right? Now 8.5 grams of pure gold into whatever 24 karat gold rate is, that is the exact amount of pricing that you should be getting.
Okay.
2-3% would be deducted because once you melt, you do not get the exact 10 grams in your hand.
Right.
There would be some loss, some gold while pouring the gold back from the furnace. So it spills out. So that much amount of loss is deducted. But it is still fair. I do not see any other industry who has been that transparent to show that, this is the making charge. You tell me any industry, they are not that transparent to say that this is my costing, this is the metal cost, this is my labor, and this is the tax invoice. You name any industry, you buy any car, all you're given is the ex-showroom price. Do we ever ask कि आपका metal का कितना लगा, टायर का कितना लगा, स्टीरियो का बताओ, and then you give me your making charge or your profit margin? That is never discussed. But in gold industry, people, I mean, since they have been so transparent, even while returning, customer should never have a doubt कि मुझे कम देगा या ये करेगा. Because you have to understand, इससे ज़्यादा transparency gold में या कोई और industry में है ही नहीं. You buy a shirt, you go to Louis Philippe, you ask them that how much is this shirt costing? He would say 5,000. How much discount? 5-10%. You never go and ask कि अरे ये तो cotton ही है, 1,000 का cotton होगा, 500 आप making ले लो, 2,000 आप making ले लो, 3,000 में आप मुझे दे दो. We never do that. Why? But for gold jewelry, so they always have a notion कि नहीं boss gold है, इसका तो हमको पूरा मिलना चाहिए. Why like that? So, but yeah, that's how it has been. But ठीक है. So we do have customers who come up and ask, मैम अभी इससे ज़्यादा transparency तो मतलब आप क्या ही मांगोगे? So that's how it is. But I think, I mean, it is better also. That's how our industry has grew a lot. The turnover, the sales, everything is under record now. Under GST portal, you get to see everything. The transparency, I mean, it is better in a way. And now we are asking upfront. Why should I give you a lower quality gold purity when I can ask you making charge of 500 and 700 rupees per gram? I'm asking you my labor or my profit upfront.
What advice do you have to someone who's starting out right now in the jewelry business?
Mm, do your market research first. Get into diamond jewelry. It still has a little bit of profit margin. Make a brand. Now you have silver jewelry, Jiva. You have Carrot Lane. You have Mia. So all these brands, they want to keep it separate. The reason being, once you're a brand for a lighter weight jewelry, which you can buy online, you can come see offline on the store. So you're able to correlate quicker. And nowadays, everybody wants a brand. When you can go to a coffee shop, you can have a coffee at any Money's cafe or anywhere, but you still want to go to Starbucks. You want to sit there for 2 hours. You want to kill your time. Why? Just because you want to enjoy it. It is not always that I want something cheaper. It is always that experience that you want. So you have diamond jewelry, which is like an experience you gift, and it is for a longer generation of time. For gold jewelry nowadays, people don't prefer having more of gold jewelry because they don't like having that yellowish. I mean, the design, the dress material. I mean, everything has changed. Earlier, it used to be saris, so gold jewelries were in. I mean, people were wearing heavy jewelries. Now it is more of dresses and all. So they want little comfortable diamond studs, diamond jewelry, which is easier to wear, not too heavy. So that's how the industry has changed. Anybody who wants to get into should first understand and do the market research wherever they want to open up. But one thing in hand, since it is a very capital intensive industry, you need to have backup capital at your disposal. It cannot be that I just open up blindly and I don't have a backup. So tomorrow, once you're in need of fund, then what do? Then you are stuck. That shouldn't happen. Now you see all the big brands, Reliance, Aditya Birla, you have Tanish Tata. So they all had backup because they had multiple other lines of businesses. So they had revenue and they thought, अरे ये revenue हम gold में डालेंगे और हमको अगर capital appreciation भी मिल गया, even if our stores are not running, we are still making profit. So they started up and it is doing well. Now Tanish could have more than, I guess, 100 stores. And it is doing well because people correlate कि Tata है. So the brand value is helping you because you made good amount of money and building trust in watches and all. Tata is known for everything, like you have hospitality, everything, small thing, bigger thing. So people would go there. They don't mind spending money. I would put it this way: if I have a jewelry of temple jewelry and if I'm asking a making of 1,000 rupees, Tanish could ask 2,000 or 3,000 rupees per gram. People will spend there. So I would always feel that I would need those customers, but that is because of the brand. Now, if I have to build a brand, I have to put in that extra amount of money to make that presence and feel, and I have to spend money on this advertisement and marketing. Only then I'll be able to achieve. So this is for my generation, next generations who are coming in. So I have to create a base today, keep it ready for them, so that once they land up, so they have all this thing ready and they can boost even further. That's what Tata has done. They have.
Right.
Go.
Are there any courses or certifications they can do to understand this business, or it's all hands-on experience?
It's all hands-on.
Okay. And what are the common misconceptions people have about the jewelry industry which you would like to clarify?
I've seen quite a lot of videos. They always say कि अरे gold लेते हो, making charge में loss होता है, इतना percentage चला जाता है, the jewelers are making money, X, Y, Z, X, Y. And I've always been, अरे यार making charge आपसे ले भी रहा है. If I put it the other way around, say suppose for example, 1 lakh is for the gold. Say gold price current, 1 lakh is for the gold. Say 10,000 is for the making charge. 3,000 is the GST. So 13,000 is your basic loss whenever you have to resell that jewelry. If the prices are stable, so say lakh rupee is the price of the gold, 10,000 is my making, 3,000 was a GST. So if I have to return back my jewelry, my loss is 13,000, which is decided today. You know it for fact today itself. Now this 13,000, if I tell you that this is the cost for you to wear a jewelry for a year. So if I divide that 13,000 divided by 12 months, so roughly around 1,100 rupees approximately is the cost of wearing, having, enjoying, and going to functions, weddings and all. So I don't think it is a bad thing to say that ki 1,000 rupees ma'am, wearing something which everybody's adorning and enjoying and liking it. But you have a fashion jewelry wherein you're spending 10,000, the 10,000 is worth zero tomorrow. Why would I do that? Financially, 1 lakh is my invested capital. But this 10,000 which I have to recover, now if the gold prices increase from 1 lakh to 1 lakh 10,000, तो मेरा मेकिंग चार्ज तो आ ही गया. तो टेक्निकली मेरा लॉस क्या हुआ? 3% जीएसटी गवर्नमेंट सबसे लोएस्ट है. सो टेक्निकली इसमें कुछ लॉस नहीं हुआ. इट इज़ जस्ट द माइंड सेट कि अरे मेकिंग चार्ज लगता है. बट आई डोंट थिंक घर पे अगर मेरा 1 किलो गोल्ड पड़ा है इन फॉर्म ऑफ बार लाइक गोल्ड बार्स, और मेरी वाइफ या मेरी मदर अगर वो इमिटेशन ज्वेलरी पहन रही है, तो आई वुडंट रियली लाइक, बिकॉज आई हैव दैट इन्वेस्टेड. तो उसमें से थोड़ा सा ही मुझे निकालना है. और वो मेकिंग चार्ज तो मैं इवनली समझो आई वुड जस्ट से कि आई एम स्पेंडिंग ओवर अ ईयर, एंड ठीक है उसमें भी गोल्ड अप्रिशिएट हो गया, यू आर स्टिल नॉट लूजिंग एनीथिंग. सो दिस मिसकंसेप्शन दैट नहीं ज्वेलरी लेंगे तो इतना मेकिंग चार्ज लगता है, ठीक है, बट just by keeping a gold in form of a bar, keeping at home will not make any use, right? आप पहनो, एंजॉय करो. सब चीज़ अगर मैं लॉकर में ही भरूंगा तो यार लाइफ में मैं आके कब एंजॉय करूंगा?
So I also wanted to ask you, what is a better investment, gold or diamond?
They both are in comparative, but in comparison, gold is always better. Diamond, as I just mentioned, that if you're buying diamonds from a local jeweler, you need to really be convinced that I'm buying what quality of diamonds. So in diamonds you have like 5 quality of diamonds, starting from IF, VVS, VS, SI and I. So now out of this, in gold you have only 3 purities: 18 karat, 22 karat and 24 karat. If it is a 24 karat biscuit you have bought, you sell it to anybody, they'll buy it. 22 karat hallmark, anybody will buy. 18 karat, anybody will buy. Now old jewelries of KDM, which the purity was not standardized, so that needs to be melted. You take the report of certificate ki what purity, and then you can sell. So if you see in jewelry terms, whichever jewelry you're buying, it could be diamond studded or a gold studded, until unless you know the purity or the quality which you're buying, it is not going to be a problem for you to resell. Coming back to the second thing, like in diamonds, the price could vary. Now, why it could vary was, I say suppose if you're buying it from a brand, as I mentioned, if I have to sell 1 carat diamond, I would sell it for 65,000 per carat, any jewelry. The brand would sell it for not less than 1,20,000 for a very lower quality. Okay? Now that lower quality, you come and sell it to a local jeweler, because what happens, these brands never give you cash. They always ask you for an exchange. The local jeweler, whatever he sells, he buys it in cash, he does it in exchange, he does everything.
Correct.
He does it just to retain that customer, build a good relation and have good business entirely in his generation sort.
Yeah.
So diamond में क्या होता है, अभी आपने ना समझो कोई ब्रांड से लिया, आपने आके लोकल ज्वेलर को सेल किया, तो आपको वो प्राइस नहीं मिलेगा, बिकॉज ऑलरेडी यू हैव पेड एन ओवर प्राइस जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ द ब्रांड, एंड नाउ द क्वालिटी इज लोअर विच दिस लोकल ज्वेलर इज नॉट सेलिंग. आई एम सेलिंग से सपोज VVS EF color, but the brand is selling SI quality GH color. My selling price for a top quality is at 60, but they are at the lower quality just because of their higher margins. They are selling it at 120. So they have sold it almost twice the amount. Now you would feel कि अरे यार डायमंड लेना ही गलत डिसीजन था. डायमंड लेना सही डिसीजन होता अगर आपको प्राइस क्वालिटी मालूम होती, एंड यू वुड हैव नोन कि ये ज्वेलरी मुझे कहाँ से लेना था. अगर आप समझो सौरभ ज्वेलर्स से आते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है कि सौरभ ज्वेलर्स घर पे डायमंड बना रहा है. सौरभ ज्वेलर्स अपने सर्टिफिकेट्स IGI में अपनी ज्वेलरी पीसेस को IGI में GI में भेज कर सर्टिफाई करवा के he'll give you a certificate. The only thing which Sorabh Jewellers didn't do was he didn't do this social marketing. कि boss, I am selling VVS quality at 60,000. The brand did. Tanish came up and told that we are selling diamonds, 100% buyback. I'm not saying per name say, but the brands would say that I'm selling this diamond at this price, 100% buyback. So you as a customer would feel, wow, he's giving me 100%. तो आप चले गए उनके पास लेने, बट यू नेवर गॉट इन टू द डिटेल आस्किंग क्वेश्चनिंग कि अगर मैं ये VS क्वालिटी का जो ब्रांड से ले रहा हूँ, मैं अगर समझो सौरभ से जाके लूँ तो मुझे कितने में मिलेगा. You never did that comparison. So that is where they made money, they sold diamonds. But when it came time कि अरे यार मैंने अभी बेचना है, now they are not giving me cash, I am in need of cash. So now if you go to a local jeweler, अरे ये तो कम दे रहा है, डायमंड में इन्वेस्टमेंट ही वेस्ट था. So now किया किसी ने, the entire industry has got that name कि investment in diamond was bad. You would definitely have a 10% loss in diamond compared to gold.
Okay.
Gold would have a loss of 2%.
Okay.
But still tentatively, because the gold prices have risen, na, you wouldn't feel that pinch of 2% because the gold prices have shot up to 30 and 40%. You bought that chain for 10,000 and now it is 15 or 20,000 and still you're getting what 13,000. Still you're okay because अरे जितने में लिया था use किया और फिर भी ज़्यादा ही मिला. So investment point, it is always good. Even today I would say that's what I've done. I mean, with my financial backgrounds and somebody who came up to us and asked कि यार मुझे लड़की की शादी करनी है, पैसा नहीं था. So I always told them, सर आप कुछ भी मत करो. Simple LIC का जैसे आपका every month का 5th of every month, you keep buying gold with whatever budget you have. You have say 10,000, buy 1 gram of gold. Every month you keep on buying. Now your daughter is almost what age? Say 10 years. You have 10 years of time. Keep buying gold at every month, 5th of every month, without any thought कि gold price अभी आज बढ़ा हुआ है, कम हो गया, मैं तब खरीदूंगा.
Like SIP.
SIP, keep on buying. Accumulate gold. There will be a time, there will be a vault wherein you would have 200 grams, 300 grams. And people who have done that, na, trust me, there was one father who came up to us and who told us कि आपने ये बताया ना, मेरा लड़के की शादी कर दी मैंने, लड़की का खाने का खर्चा हो गया, जो उनको मेरे को गिफ्ट वगैरह देना था वो सब मेरा निकल गया और मैंने बस ये छोटे छोटे बोलता ना छोटे छोटे सेविंग से मैं करता गया और मेरा ये काम पूरा पड़ा. सो इट इज़ ऑलवेज सिस्टमेटिकली. आप आज भी स्टार्ट करोगे फॉर एनी फादर हु इज़ हैविंग अ डॉटर और अ सन. डॉटर है तो उसके लिए है ना बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट आप एक काम कर लो, एवरी मंथ यू स्टार्ट बाइंग गोल्ड. डोंट आस्क एनीबडी अरे कम होएगा तभी खरीदू क्या. डोंट आस्क बिकॉज नो बडी नोज. Even if you ask me with 10 years of experience and what will happen, कल कम होएगा. Trust me, जिस दिन कम होगा ना, you'll be occupied with some other work. You'll not have funds in your bank account to buy or cash in your house to buy. You'll be occupied somewhere, you'll be stuck. And the moment you reach to the store, na, the prices have again be rising. So just keep a date, 5th or 10th of every month, wherever you're getting a salary. If your salary is 10,000, buy 10% of it. 1,000 ka, buy 100 milligrams. Buy gold. Start storing gold. Because see, other ways around, you can always, whenever you are in emergency, you need fund. You don't need to beg anybody. Gold निकालो, बेच दो, you'll have funds, आपका काम कर लो. You can always, नहीं हुआ, नहीं बेचना है, mortgage कर लो. Take loan out of it. You can do multiple things with it. So that is always going to be helpful.
So we have some rapid fire questions for you, which is continues our discussion. Gold or diamonds?
Gold.
Favorite gemstone?
Yellow sapphire.
One jewelry trend you wish you would which would come back?
Jewelry trend which would come back. The problem is the artisan. You don't find those artisans again. But I mean, lightweight jewelries. I mean, they are always trending. So they always work well. Within a budget of like lakh and 2 lakhs, people don't mind spending lakh rupee easily. So that's always there.
Okay. One myth about jewelers that's totally false.
I've heard this a lot of number of times. It was कि अपनी माँ का वो जो नथ होता है ना वो भी वो बेच के कमा सकता है. सो दैट्स व्हाट इट हर्ट्स एट टाइम कि मतलब कोई ये सोचता है कि है ना ज्वेलर बोलेगा तो भी वो सच नहीं बोल रहा है, उसमें फिर भी वो कमा रहा है. ऑब्वियसली अगर इतना इन्वेस्टमेंट करेगा कैपिटल का तो वो कमाएगा. बट द प्रॉब्लम इज सिंस आई हैव बीन सिंसियर टू टेल यू हाउ मच मार्जिन आई एम मेकिंग, that is why you are judging me. Hadn't you known about, I would have sold you per piece, like this earring is just for 10,000, no breakups. Then it would have been, much better for us. But since I tell you upfront, this is the making, so you tend to, yaar, itna kama raha hai. But this as an investment, as I told you, the entire stock which is hanging. So there is interest cost, there is electricity, the staff has to be paid, there's training. Over and above, there is income tax, chartered accountant. So there are X number of costs. So it is not that easy. At least in India, you should have made it a little better. Like if you see the other way around, I mean, if you really want to promote any industry, na, make it a little bit easier. So like even if you do your work honest, I mean I would believe that way कि even if you do something na, there's always the other person doubting कि तूने सही से नहीं किया रहेगा, you would have hidden something. That is always there. But keep the process little quicker. Now जैसे मोदी जी का आया कि now he's done faceless. It is working good. I mean, you have any queries, you put everything online. You don't have to run around. Earlier, we used to sit with the officers, explain him, make him understand. It was tedious.
Yeah.
Now you're sitting in Chennai and the officer is sitting in Kashmir and the scrutiny is ongoing. So make the processes easier and quicker. So that is always better.
Okay. And one habit that's helped you to succeed in your business?
Focused and persistent and customer interaction, feedbacks, many things. You have to be focused, you have to be dedicated. Honestly, if you're not passionate, now don't do that. I was really passionate, so now my father started a store wherein he used to go door to door, and then he started a store. From one store, then he made up a big store. Then he ventured into manufacturing, and then from manufacturing, now we are into real estate. So now we are developing properties, and we are venturing into again investments and companies also. So we look for investments. So now gold per se has been really transparent. Real estate is still again the same unorganized thing. So let's see how that works.
Okay. So good luck for everything, Abhishek, and thank you for being here. This brings us to the end of the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was nice.
Thank you for watching this episode till the very end. If you found this episode to be valuable and insightful, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and share your takeaways in the comment section below, as your support will help us grow and bring you more insightful conversations. And also, from your interactions, the algorithm will push the videos to many other viewers who would be keen on seeing such podcasts. Thank you.